Let me start the recording. Let's cook. Okay. Before I start, I want to say if I talk to you guys like you're third graders, I'm sorry. We were tabling today for engineering week, and I've talked to so many like little kids today asking like questions I never thought I'd have to like phrase software to like third graders. But if I'm,
Example.
what's up?
Example, please.
Example. I had to give them examples of software, and whenever I said Fortnite or Roblox, they blocked in pretty hard. So I'm gonna try my best not to talk about either of those today in this workshop, but I've talked about them a lot. So we're gonna be talking about self-hosting and just hosting in general. And so to start, just some of our objectives. Leaving this room, I want these 4 key points to have the groundwork laid for you guys. First off, kind of just understand what even is hosting, right? Because it's sort of like an abstract concept with a lot of different meanings. Recognize key things to consider when hosting an application, including things like where do we put it, why do we put it there, what do we use in certain situations. We also want to understand the spectrum between bare metal and serverless, because it really is just like a linear spectrum between the two. And then last but not least, I want to try to teach you guys how to deploy your own applications via self-hosting, which is my personal hosting method of choice. I know that there's plenty of people in the club that might disagree with me, but we're going to teach both either way at some time in the semester. I'm personally a big fan of self-hosting, and I'll kind of argue for why. So, on our agenda, 5 key points. First thing we're going to talk about is what is hosting, right? What does that mean? What are the implications of this? What is the definition and all of that different stuff? And then we're actually going to start getting into different hosts, right? So the spectrum between bare metal hosts and serverless hosts. We're going to talk about what virtual private servers are, self-hosting free open source software, and then last but not least, I'm going to do something a little bold, and we're actually going to deploy an entire app that I've made ahead of time live and see if I don't mess up. That'll be fun. So luckily there's only max 29 people in this room, so if I mess up, it's not 100 people, but cool. So to start off, let's just talking about the idea of hosting. And let me double check that I'm recording. Yeah, I'm recording. So when you're working on an application, you consider it to be a local application, right? For a lot of the times, you're running it on your VS Code terminal or some sort of emulator on your computer. And it isn't until that you host it that you can send someone a link or someone can download it. It's the publishing of the code that you're writing in a uniform and standardized way, right? So in development, your apps are hosted locally on your laptop. Anyone here of localhost, right? So that is you basically hosting the application only on your laptop, but it's not really publicly exposed, right? And so hosting is a step that you're always gonna have to take with your projects if you want to formally share them with other people, if you want your recruiters to see them, if you want your friends or family to see them in a capacity more than giving a GitHub repo link. Imagine giving your mother a GitHub repo link. Like, that's not working, right? So we want to like find a way to actually host our applications. Same thing with recruiters. It's just a way to really polish off a good project, because no matter how good a project is, if you try to present it to someone with a repo link, they're not really going to know what's happening. They're not going to know what's going on, and quite frankly, they're not going to want to clone and reproduce a repo locally, right? So that's essentially what hosting is. We just need to put it somewhere. And so all different applications warrant all different types of hosting, right? Like a website would be hosted with a web server. A mobile app might have an API that's hosted somewhere, and probably the app is stored on some sort of app store or registry or something like that. We'll mainly be focusing on like server hosting, so like for APIs, for databases, for web applications, stuff like that. So to talk a little bit more, you can get them after. It's all good. To talk a little bit more about the spectrum I mentioned before. So in order to host your application, you need to figure out what host you want to use, right? And so there is a plethora of hosts on the internet. There's Vercel, there's all of the cloud providers from companies like Azure, GCP, AWS. And then there's the option of bare metal, which you find a shitty MacBook that's in a closet somewhere, and you can just run it off of there. So there's kind of this spectrum of bare metal being like you literally have a server. You expose the server, probably a Linux terminal somewhere, you SSH into it, you do it all from scratch, right? Like that's the real deal bare metal, right? You're gonna have to figure out all that networking stuff, and we got someone, from Hack Here Cyber laughing at us because it's a little hard of a task to do, and I feel like that's where a lot of vulnerabilities are at, right? So that's sort of like the bare metal mindset, and then serverless is essentially, and here's the thing about serverless, don't let it confuse you, there still is a server, it's just not your server.
You are serverless. You don't have to worry about a server. Instead, you give it to a company or some sort of solution, and it's their server, and they do all of the deployment for you. They manage the routing, they manage all of the networking, all of the caching, all of those really like intricate things of bare metal hosting. You just don't have to think about it, right? And that sounds great. That sounds like a lot of fun, right? But obviously, if that was the best case, everyone would be using it, and there would be no argument for bare metal or for anything like that. So there are a lot of things to consider when we actually are picking a hosting platform. These are all of the ones I could think of at 11 p.m. last night. So we're going to go through all of them and sort of just how we consider them between that spectrum, right? So the first one's obviously pricing. Do I know why the one is smaller than the rest? I have no idea. But pricing is one of them, right? That's a pretty big component for a lot of people, especially because, we're in college. We want to get cheap things, right? I don't want to be spending $25 a month hosting one website. Like that's kind of absurd, right? Performance and scalability is also another thing to consider, as well as the scope of the application you're deploying. If you just have like a small website that you think only you and your friends are going to use, do you really need that $1,000 infrastructure to handle load balancing and CDN caching and all these random stuff that you don't even know about, right? So like that's something to consider as well, and that does change with what you pick. Resources, so this is like the actual utilization of like the CPU, the RAM, in some cases even the GPU if you're doing some sort of like AI hosting. Availability, when is your server going to be online? Will you ever have to compete for resources? Will it always be available to you and your users? Ownership, this one's a little interesting. I'm going to talk about it when we get there. And then these three down here are kind of the really big ones I thought about when I was thinking about serverless. One of them is vendor lock-in, which I'll also get into when we get there. Ease of use, convenience, and learning curve. So to go each of them one by one, first of all, pricing. Serverless, as I explained, you don't have to deal with all of these things, right? So you could imagine that's going to come at a cost, because at the end of the day, the company that you're putting your server on for serverless, they have to run their own servers. They have to do all of that management for you. You're essentially paying them a service, right? So the serverless service, this is a tongue twister, but they're a lot more expensive. The other thing with serverless is they tend to be priced very ambiguously. I think some AWS services price you by the second rather than by the month. Why do they do that? Because they want to give you the illusion that it's cheap, and they want to make it as complicated as possible so you don't actually know how much you're paying. And so if you have an AWS Lambda function that's running rogue, something went wrong, maybe there have been people like accidentally leave like a recursive function on a Lambda without knowing, and it runs infinitely, and they have like a $50,000 bill. They're bankrupt. That's crazy. Yeah.
Google Cloud.
Yeah. Well, any cloud service that happens, right? GCP, Azure, AWS, GCP, and Azure are sort of the big text version of their serverless platform. They all try to compete with each other, but they're different in their own ways. And then there's Vercel. Vercel is like the very interesting one because Vercel is actually built on top of AWS. So it's the serverless. It's like serverless squared, right? It's like a serverless platform on top of a serverless platform. So it's like, what are we even doing here at this point, right? But to be fair, Vercel is very convenient. It is extremely convenient. You just give a GitHub link and now your site's up. You write down the domain and now the domain's attached. Like it's super, super easy, right? But again, you're paying for that, right? It's a lot more expensive to go serverless. Performance, this is a little interesting one. It depends. More often than not, serverless is going to be a lot more performant because these companies have crazy technology, crazy servers, and lots of optimization to do that. But really, since bare metal, you are doing everything from scratch, that is an opportunity for you to make it as efficient as hell, right? But of course, that takes a lot of attention to detail, a lot of technical know-how, and all of that stuff. So for the most part, for the majority of people, serverless is going to be quicker. It's going to be a lot more efficient, right? Scalability, again, it depends, but usually serverless. And by scalability, I mean once your application gets bigger and bigger, you have more and more users sending more and more requests at a certain given time frame. Serverless, like the cloud providers on the right, usually have fail-safes to deal with that for you. They have load balancers, they have multiple instances, they clone your apps for you. Again, all of these things that we don't have to think about versus doing bare metal. As for resources, like I said, this remains mostly ambiguous. AWS, Azure, GCP, they make their pricing hard to understand, and they make it so that you don't really know how much compute you actually have. Like, try to look up on like some certain AWS platforms, like what can I expect in like the CPU performance or the RAM usage and stuff like that. Like it's a little hard to follow. So as for availability, so some of these services with AWS, GCP, and Azure, you actually share resources with other users and their applications, right? So some of the issues with that is that availability becomes an issue. What happens if all of the apps on AWS have an extremely busy day one day, depending on maybe pricing tiers or other weird little business know-hows that they do? You might not actually have as much availability on your server as usual, right? So you might kind of get like, you can almost think of it as like you're all sharing one room together and you kind of pushing around. For a bare metal, at least the setup that you have, your traffic and the traffic you define is the only traffic going in and out of it, right? So it makes it a lot more, it's yours. You don't have to compete, right? Which helps you with availability. The other thing is ownership. So this is one of the things that I really want to talk about because it's one of the things I've found really liberating with the self-hosting route. Things like AWS, Azure, GCP, especially Vercel, certain things just outright won't work. Why? Because our servers don't like it. So if you've ever built an application that wants to do file writing, if you want to write a file, make a file, change a file, you can't do that on Vercel. Why? Because their servers don't like it. Because they run on the edge, they do these weird caching things, they have, partitions, blah, 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 a bunch of, tech jargon. But the point is, there are some things you just quite frankly can't do. If you have an API route that runs longer than 3 seconds, Vercel says, no, we don't like that. And so that's the thing that really pissed me off with a lot of serverless is like, it's really convenient at the start to deploy. Once you start getting into those unique things, it gets really, really difficult. So I built an AI application and I put it on Vercel. And you could imagine an AI app might take more than 3 seconds to respond. It's an AI API. So that entire app didn't work anymore on Vercel. I thought that was nonsense. I tried finding another way to, figure out how it worked. And so this is what I mean by ownership. Another thing about ownership is assuming that you're developing on a Linux terminal, whether that be WSL, maybe a Unix system, or just raw Linux, the way that it works on your computer is going to be the exact same way it works on a VPS. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's the same terminal under the hood, right? As long as you configure it that way. With all of these serverless sort of solutions, there's a lot of abstractions that get in the way that you really don't know how things work when you deploy it to those serverless things, right? And so that adds this like level of disconnect of like, well, wait, what's actually happening, right? What am I actually doing? So that's why I'm a big fan. The ownership's a big deal. Lock-in, and by this I don't mean pay attention, I mean like vendor lock-in. So AWS, GCP, Azure, they have stuff called egress fees. If you want to, let's say you're on Azure, and you want to move to AWS. Let's say Azure's up to your bill. You actually have a quantifiable, like you have to pay money to move your data out. You have to pay money to go from Azure to AWS just to buy your data back from them. If I'm uploading my data, that's my data. I should own it. I shouldn't have to pay to get my data back, right? I'm already paying a lot of money for these serverless platforms to host my stuff. Now, why am I paying money to leave? So that's what I mean by lock-in. Another thing that's also really, really big with these type of platforms is sometimes like if you use like a proprietary database, like some of the databases on AWS or Azure or GCP, they're encoded in their own proprietary format, meaning it's made so that you can't like hack it out and put it somewhere else, which you can with enough work, but it's made to be difficult to move your data. And that's what I mean by lock-in. If you build a company on AWS and you want to move, if you have a significant user base, it's not happening, right? And so that's why a lot of serverless companies will actually give really, really big dollar donations to startups. They'll say, hey, startup over there, we'll give you $500,000 AWS credits. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of free money. The whole point is they want you to get your business successful, and after those $500,000, you're stuck. Because at the point that you've spent all $500,000, it's assumed you have a lot of users. It's assumed that you're going to have a lot of data. And at that point, lock in, right? I think this is the last one, convenience. Like I said, in most cases, serverless is going to be a lot more convenient. All you need to do is give them a GitHub link, and they usually tend to manage the rest. They open up the ports, they do all the management for you, they do all the CI/CD for you. For those of you that don't know what CI/CD is, it's continuous integration, continuous deployment, I believe. And long story short, a really good example of CI/CD, when I make a GitHub push, my site automatically updates. If anyone's ever deployed to Vercel or any of these other platforms, when you make a commit to a website, give it 2-3 minutes, refresh the page, and it's up on the website. That's CI/CD. So things like that are things to consider as well. And that's where a lot of the convenience of serverless comes in. And believe it or not, it takes 30 minutes to write something up like that on a VPS. There's a GitHub script you can make that looks at your GitHub and runs in the terminal git pull and git build. Very simple, but it's meant to, like, the fear mongering of doing it yourself is big, I feel like, at least. That's the last thing. So learning curve. The issue, again, with all of these proprietary types of hosting is you need to learn all of them. like the amount of AWS services there are that like you can really dive into and learn, there are full courses on them, right? Here at UCF online, like there are like hours long just learning how to use the services on AWS. And no diss to that, the reason it takes all of that learning time is because those resources are extremely powerful at scale, and there are times where it's necessary, but a lot of the times the projects that we'll be making, unless we go big or we somehow have like 500,000 on Instagram to like advertise it to, it's okay. Like we can get away with not doing that, right? Same things with GCP and Azure. If you learn AWS, you'll have some sort of like migration of knowledge to GCP or Azure, but again, you'll have to learn their own proprietary encodings, all of the different things that they do, the way they do it, the way they want it, and they tend to be a little opinionated, right? So, my take on this spectrum, extremes and absolutes suck in either direction. I don't want every single one of my services on a cloud provider, but I also don't want to be hosting on like a Raspberry Pi in my room. I can't even do that because like I live in a student apartment and I can't even do shit networking wise. So it's like I can't do that, right? So where do I stand on this spectrum? I like leaning maybe a third to the left of like dead center, right? So like kind of in that area is where I find the most enjoyment in deploying. And sort of anything past this like left line, if you have to like write any code or hit any Linux shell commands, it's self-hosted, right? So there's like a spectrum. If you're not using serverless, if you're actually doing any sort of configuration on your own, it's considered self-hosting. So don't call me a fraud for not having whatever this is in my room, right? I don't have room for it, nor do I have the money to buy all the hardware. So I like to go right here. And so how do I manage being left of this line and still trying to get as many of these benefits as possible? Well, that's what the rest of this workshop is about. It's going to be talking about techniques. It's going to be talking about open source software to help you get all of the benefits of serverless with as little limitations to yourself as possible, right? And that's where Coolify comes in. So I talk about Coolify a lot in my projects and to my friends because I went through the whole like full Vercel serverless. I had all the issues I told you about. Then I tried doing it like raw SSH, setting up that webhook, opening up like Nginx and all that stuff. That was a nightmare. And then I ended up finding this, and everything is so nice for me now in my dev flow. So I'm hoping to introduce this tool to you guys for all your future projects, for portfolio, for whatever you want to do, right? Because this here, if serverless, so imagine if this was like a war between the greedy rich and like the poor, right? Where like bare metal is like, oh, we're not, we don't have this figured out yet. And serverless is like big, crazy corporations with all the, resources and tech and blah, blah, blah. Coolify is like Robin Hood. So what Coolify does is a piece of software that essentially grabs all of those amazing perks from serverless. Things like scalability, things like CI/CD, auto deployment, domain handling, routing, all of those wonderful pieces of the puzzle that we pay all that money for, that we're okay with all that vendor lock-in for. And it brings it back to the left of that line. And so we go from features that should be reserved over here, ending up over here. And we can kind of talk about how we get there and how all of those things work. So Coolify is an open source server management tool that brings the benefit of serverless back to your servers. So all this is you get a bare metal server, right? In this case, actually I'll talk a little bit more about Coolify first. So like I said, Coolify, one of the things I also really, really like about Coolify is if you try doing something simply with AWS, it feels like you either opt into all of the complexity or none of it. Like when you open that dashboard, everything's thrown at your face. I know they've been doing stuff to make it better and doing their courses and all that. The way Coolify does it is I really like it in my opinion. The base UI is extremely simple and they don't show you a lot of features. But if you know what you're doing, you can open advanced mode, click into the advanced tabs and get all of those crazy things from like cloud providers, like all of that type of stuff, right? So I really like how it's simple but extensible. If you know what you're doing, it'll be just as good as if you don't, right? It's still very simple. It holds your hand, it guides you and all those things. There's a lot of pre-configured presets. And by presets, I'll show you what I mean. There are so many, and you guys are gonna be shocked about the things that Coolify comes with. Service integrations, you can get text message, email, Discord, Slack notifications, Notion integrations. It's kind of crazy. I'll show you the Discord one. I love it. CI/CD automations, right? All of this is a lot of good stuff. And again, you have complete ownership. So the cool thing about Coolify is it's going to do all of this stuff for you under the hood. But let's say something happens in Coolify that you don't like. SSH into the terminal and dig around and do something. Do something about it. You own the server. You can do whatever you want to it. If you want, you could, write straight onto the Coolify code because you actually own the code for Coolify as well. It's not encoded, it's an open source software, right? So these are all of the different things that it sort of goes about. Any language and like I swear they mean it. Like, I've tried looking for something they don't support, and they like support everything. I'm sure there's something, but if there's something, I'm never using it, right? Any server, all of this type of stuff. And yeah, so here's what I'm going to do. I realize, don't worry about what I'm doing right now. Hold on. I need to install Coolify while I talk about this, because I actually didn't install Coolify yet, and I feel like it's going to take a little bit. One sec, guys. And we'll come back to this in just a sec. I just want this to be running while I'm talking. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, guys. Okay, well, I hope this works. If not, can I borrow the VPN? Yeah. Okay, if it doesn't work. All right, I'm gonna let that run while we talk, but that sufficient memory warning is not very good. Anyways, so we can explore the Coolify docs while that runs, and hopefully my VPS doesn't explode. And I'll go into what those are as well in a sec. So it's the Coolify hosting page. These are some pretty cool companies that kind of use Coolify internally. They're big sponsors, but again, these are all of their features. And so let's just look through some of the really, really cool ones. First of all, free SSL certificates. If you want to put a domain on any of your applications, true bare metal, you have to get the Let's Encrypt up. You're going to have to do all these different networking things. That's not my major, guys. I don't care. I don't want to do that, right? So this handles it for us. Push to deploy. This is what I was talking about earlier. Whenever you make code and you push, it's going to automatically do everything. You got automatic database backups. What did I say? No vendor lock-in, right? All of this is raw data using other open source tools. You have terminal, server automations, monitoring the notifications like I talked about. And so that's really, really cool. And your Coolify actually has its own API. So if you want to make like a script where every morning it will rebuild an app, you can use its API. Like your own server has its API that gets exposed. It's super cool. So let's go look through the docs a little while this installs. I sentence you maximum punishment. Please be death, please be death. Learn Java, damn. Look, they even leave jokes in the install script. I'm gonna make it a little bigger. Cool. All right, so these are the docs. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about virtual private servers while this loads. So where I like to host my Coolify instances is on something called I could put Coolify on a Raspberry Pi in my room, right? But then again, I still have to deal with the networking stuff. I don't want to have to do that. I don't have to deal with maintenance. I don't want to get a duster and have to like dust it out because it's getting too hot. Nor do I want my room to get hot, right? So I like getting virtual private servers. These technically, again, aren't my server, but I wouldn't consider it serverless. You still have to manage it. You still have to make sure to update it. You still have to make sure to protect it, all of those type of things. So I still have the responsibility of keeping this server up to date, clean, safe, all of that. So I wouldn't consider it serverless. I still think it is self-hosted, right? And the reason that I want a VPS is it keeps me in this 1/3 zone, right? If I did it on just this, like I'd be way over here and I don't want to do that, right? So I get a VPS to kind of, again, be on that third point. No one wants to manage a server rack. I sure as hell don't. Handles exposing it to the internet for you, and also there are like a managed panel to like look at your resources, connect into it from anywhere. I personally like all of those features, so I get a virtual private server. My personal favorite virtual private server is called OVH Cloud, but there's a ton of other providers. So if you were to get something like this, I'm personally a fan of the value for my personal projects because I really don't need that much compute, but I guess I don't have enough storage. So, oh hey, look, you have Coolify, cool. So I'll go into that in a sec. Right here, they have all their different tiers. Essential's pretty good. I'm pretty sure we have Comfort for the Nighthawks dev team, and we use this exact same kind of setup already. So you can get a VPS here. What it's going to do is it's going to give you, once you're done with that, it's going to propagate and give you SSH. And so all you need to do, if you don't know Linux, don't worry, because all it takes to install Coolify is one Linux command. It's this curl command right here, right? And you saw me do it. I have proof that it's fresh. Y'all saw me do it, right? So all you need to do, what's up?
I was gonna say, is it like a web interface after you install it?
Yeah, I'll show. So yeah, I just finished installing it, so it's good.
Okay, I see that.
And then come back over here. So this is pretty cool, right? It's just one Linux command, and this is going to open up a port So I can actually, that's not right, that's private. Here it is. So my VPS might explode, but look, okay, cool. So y'all saw that, right? We could go history right here. We could look at all of my commands. This is me testing if I have pseudo-firms. Look, one command. It's gonna spit out a public address, and now boom, I have a dashboard right into my VPS. All of the routing's done for me. Look, that's all right there for me, nice and neat, right? So before I get actually into that, I want to leave this up. So for the rest of this workshop, we are going to just look around in Coolify. I'm going to show you all of the features in the panel after I make an account. We're going to talk about projects, all of our preset configured services, application sources, setting up CI/CD properly, all of the domain handling, and then we'll actually do a cool little demo, hopefully. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my account. So when you fresh install Coolify, this is like the root account. Now the really cool thing is, Vercel, if you wanna work on a project in a team, they charge you money just to add your friend to your project. Are you serious? Coolify has a fully fledged team application, so you can give someone a login to your VPS in Coolify and manage what they see. But this first one, this one's called root. This is gonna have access to everything. So if you wanna invite a friend, don't share the root login with them. Make them a user and email that to them. If not, they could just blow everything up, right? Unless you really trust your friends, at which point, good on you. It's good to have those. Put my email in here. So I'm gonna drop the NightHacks email. All right, so we register. And now the first time you're in Coolify, it's actually gonna literally tell you how to use the app. Like it's giving you an onboarding tutorial built in. You could skip the onboarding or restart it, but I'm gonna just let it roll, right? So again, self-hosting with superpowers. Task automation, no vendor lock-in monitoring, basically everything I've told you. And so there's really interesting thing about this. You can actually set up multiple servers with Coolify. What do I mean by that? So a lot of the benefit of serverless, of those really expensive providers, is that if you need a lot of servers, they can actually set up a load balancer that routes your traffic through multiple different servers, right? And that's something that you want when you're in scale. Coolify is like, well, if you need that, we got you anyways. You can actually use Coolify as a traffic orchestrator through multiple servers, which is really advanced and out of scope of this workshop. So almost always you're gonna click localhost. This means Coolify is going to use the same server that it's on. But let's say your server's big, you could put Coolify on its own server and connect it to another one and have them talk back and forth, right? Coolify could orchestrate multiple servers for you, which is, again, free and open source software. I didn't have to pay a dime for this. That's crazy, right? Create new project. Let's do it. So it's taking us straight into the new project. Actually, I'm gonna go back and kind of show you how to do that. So it automatically made a project for me called My First Project. Question?
So if you were to use a Coolify locally, like on a server in your house, you would still have to do some things with the router, right?
Yeah, you'd still have to open it up so that all of the ports are open, but after you do that, I think it's like...
Or maybe I can find some like solution with like a cloud storage or something.
Yep, exactly. So as long as it's accessible, you could still run it from home. I've never cared to learn that. I probably should, but I'm like stubborn, right? All right, so let's do a project. Actually, let's look at everything else before we get into the meat and bones. So over here, we have settings, right? You could go ahead and change like your instance name, the domain of your Coolify. So if you don't want to have to keep going to your IP address and then, port 8000/settings, you could actually go ahead and set an instance domain here. And I'm going to do all of that before we even get started. You could do Coolify backups. So you could create a database for all of your Coolify settings, all of your deployment settings, have it back up there. There's a terminal here. So if you don't want to have to SSH in again, which is that one Linux command to put you in the command line, and we've used Eustace if you've had that for class, or like any of those, that's what SSHing is. You only have to do that once, but let's say an application's acting buggy and you want to debug it. You have a terminal right here. It lets you click all of your apps, right? So look, I could go right into the Coolify app and read its terminal, or I can go into its Redis database. You don't want to mess with that if you don't know what you're doing. Keys and tokens, all that you don't need to worry about. Notifications. So this one's pretty cool, and I'm going to do this right at the start so we get to mess with it. But there is a Discord integration. I'm going to have to open up the Discord. All right, there you go. So I've actually built a Discord just for this called Self-Host Test. A part of me wanted to name it Self-Host Interactive Test so that this would be funny right here. But let me go ahead and go get my webhook. So if you want to integrate with Discord, you can go ahead and just make integrations, create webhook. I'm going to call this Coolify. Copy webhook URL, save changes, come back here, and then boom. And then I want everything. I want messages when a deployment works, when a backup works, when we have scheduled tasks to go off. I don't want to do any of the Docker stuff. We'll press save, send a test notification. You come over here, and look, my Coolify is now talking on Discord. So if you're building a team thing, it's super, super cool because guess what? We actually used on the dev. I don't want to open that. I don't know what's in there. But we actually have like full kind of integration on this. So whenever we merge a pull request in, we'll go in the Coolify channel and we'll all just start typing like, please, please, please build. And then Coolify will send a message that our app built and we all go, yes, because it's cool to know that it works, right? So Coolify is super cool. You can have all those integrations. You can also get email, Telegram, Slack, and whatever pushover is. I've never heard of that. You could set up integrations for that to do this exact same thing on those applications, right? The time's updating? That's crazy. What's up?
Real quick, is that for for like per app, or is that the entire system?
The entire system. So every container, every application, every database, everything.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you can configure it with advanced stuff for like each of them. Anyways, there's S3 storages here. If you don't know what S3 storages are, you can kind of mess around with that. Sources, I'm going to have to add one of these soon. This is essentially all of the OAuth applications you can pull code from. Because if you have a private repo, how is Coolify going to have access to your private code? You need to give it access through a source. I'm going to do that again at the end. Servers, this is if you want to orchestrate multiple servers. We're not going to go into that in the scope of this. So we'll just look at a project for now. And so let's name this workshop. I love night hacks. Continue. And so let's just take a minute to admire all of the things that are in here. So basically each project can have multiple resources. Why do they organize it that way? Because well, maybe you have, if we didn't do it by project, we might have 3 databases for 3 different apps and they're all in the database folder. You don't know what belongs to what application. So we wrap it all in like a project. It's like a folder for all of the things. So you might have a website, a database, and analytics, right? So we'll take this project and click add new resource. Now let's take a deep breath and look through all of the things that Coolify. Well, just to start, do y'all see how small this scroll bar is right now? Do you see how much stuff's in here? Now we'll come back. We'll come back to this, right? We'll look through all of these, but all of these are things that you might be familiar with. Let's one-click Minecraft server, anybody? Coolify's like, yeah, Minecraft is based. Let's put Minecraft on here. Anyone want an old dirt WordPress site? We have 6. We have one with MariaDB too. Let's see, what else do we have? You want analytics? We got Umami. We got PostHog. Any other services that you guys might want to look at? Anything that might come to mind, might be open source. We have all the databases. Postgres. We have Postgres. Even all the databases right here. Look, we have 8 databases we can one-click. We have Redis, MySQL, Postgres. I think it's just a GitHub app. You just. I'll show you GitHub. Yeah, GitHub app. I can show you that in a sec. These are all other open source software, and that's the beauty of open source is that the ecosystem supports itself, right? So all of these, MariaDB, MySQL, Redis, ClickHouse. Let's see if we can find some other ones that are cool. I don't want to take too long on it, but some of these. Bitcoin. Y'all want to mine Bitcoin on the VPS? Well, guess what? One click. Right? All of the S3 storages. So if you ever use Amazon S3, Minio is a open source Amazon S3, so you don't have to worry about Amazon anymore, right? What else do we have?
When we're doing all of these, pre-made instances, do you know like where it's stored on the server?
So each is in its own Docker container, and you can orchestrate all the Docker containers from the terminal tab here.
Okay.
Let me see if there's any easy appointments. I didn't even know this existed. We might get rid of this instead of Lettuce Meet because Lettuce Meet kind of sucks, right? You can host a Firefox. I didn't even know you can host a Firefox, right? So these are all the cool things that it has set up here, and some of them even have built-in. They have Grafana. Like, look at all these guys. There are too many things in here. I don't even know what to do with them. They have an Olama instance. Y'all want to run an LLM on your VPS? Will it explode? Probably, but you can run it, right? Even with the web UI. So it goes to show all of the amazing things that this thing has. I haven't even been able to explore all of them. And I encourage you guys to take some time to because I think, y'all want a password manager? self-hosted password manager. I don't know how safe that is. I'm pretty sure encrypted and all that jargon, but I'm not worried about that, right? So to actually deploy an application, again, we're gonna have to set up a source, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and add a GitHub app, Naughty Newt. Okay, I'm just gonna call this workshop so I know to delete it. And so what you do is, once you create a GitHub app, it's gonna press continue, and it's gonna let you register. There you go. So now I'm gonna do this so that we can have, don't steal my GitHub account, guys. I'm gonna do this so that we have access to all of my repositories, all of my private ones. But once we set this up, it's actually as easy as that, right? Approve, cool. Create GitHub app, go here, install, go here, install. Okay, now because of this GitHub app, I have access to all of my private repositories on my account. I have access to everything. So if I need to deploy an application, I now have all of my projects in like almost like a secure, like tokenized way, right? So if I come back here, add resource, GitHub app, I should be able to click this. And these are all of my repos, right? Like every single one of them. Yeah, you want to deploy loot code? We haven't made loot code Coolify already. There's a lot of crazy stuff in there. But yeah, so that's just generally the gist. And I'm not going to get super deep into an application because I actually want to do something as well before we do that. So this is bold, and it is 5:41. Let's see if I can get this done by 6:30. Here's what I'm going to do in front of you guys. Now that I've shown you everything that Coolify has, we're actually going to try using it. We're going to deep dive. So right in front of you guys, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to deploy a full stack application, right? We're going to set up a domain. We're going to have all of the routing work on the domain. We're going to configure Coolify to have all of those cool email notifications that we want. I'm then going to deploy a full stack Next.js app, put in its database, get an analytics engine, and we're going to use the app together because you guys can actually go ahead, pull up the domain, and use the app live. So that's the goal for the rest of this workshop. And so this is going to be really valuable because if you need to do this, this video will be uploaded on YouTube. You guys have like a full play-by-play walkthrough of everything I did in the order I did it. So you guys get to deploy your own application if you guys need to do this, right? Are y'all ready? So I might go a little fast, right? Because I don't know if I'm going to have time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this. This will be a testament of how quick Coolify is. So first thing I want to do is set up a domain. Why do I want to do that? Because I want my Next.js app, I want my Postgres database and my analytics engine to use my domain, right? Because if not, it's going to be over HTTP, and all of my projects are going to look like this. I don't want IPs on the whole thing. So I've already acquired a domain, right? It's called ilovenighthacks.xyz. It was $2 last night, right? So we're going to completely clear out this domain. And the two things that we need to use this domain first is we're going to only need 2 records, right? We need an A record for root. So in this case, that's ilovenighthacks.xyz. And we're going to want to point that to this domain right here. This is the actual domain of my VPS, which I'm probably going to have to change. I hope you guys don't like blow me up, right? Yeah, especially if we got hack in the room. No. All right, cool. So we put that to our IP. What this is saying is, hey, this domain is going to go to ilovenighthacks.xyz. Hello? Save all changes. I think it's loading. Okay, something's not working. Anyways, I'll explain what that's doing while hopefully it loads by the time this page refreshes. All that's saying is that when we use that root domain, the traffic is going to be routed to that IP address, right? Now the issue is, you're probably thinking, well, what app is it going to go to, right? So there's a lot of ways that you can handle this. Coolify does a lot of that for you in the project panel, which I'll demonstrate. But one of the ways that I really like using Coolify is I like giving each project its own subdomain. What do I mean by that? So that's actually exactly what we do at Nighthacks, and I can demonstrate. So blade.nighthacks.org leads us to this Coolify app Blade. But if we head to club.nighthacks.org, we go to another Coolify app here, which is work in progress. Don't mind the messy grading it, right? So these are both on Coolify for our dev instance, and they're both pointing to the same IP address. So how are we differentiating the two? Well, Coolify has a proxy under the hood called traffic, and it does all of that for you. Again, niceties of Coolify, it's like the Robin Hood of all of that, right? So we'll come back here. Now, how do we let the server know, the IP know that we're allowing multiple subdomains. This is called the wildcard domain. So we can set that here. And so now what this is saying is that everything before ilovenighthacks.xyz will route us here. So that means, imagine if this were nighthacks, it's saying blade.nighthacks.org goes to that IP, club.nighthacks.org goes to that IP. And actually something really cool, if I did like test.nighthacks, it should respond with no server. The proxy on our Coolify should say there's no server with this, or invalid SSL certificate. That's different, right? But if you have it set up properly, it'll just be like, yeah, no server, all right? Hopefully I don't have any SSL issues. I've actually never set up Coolify with Namecheap, but if that happens, I'll just buy a Cloudflare domain in front of you guys. I don't care. Cool. So now that we have this up, we should be able to come to settings, and we can actually set, what's up?
So since DNS only does the actual like switching the domain to IP, right? So how does I guess the proxy know if I went to like test.nighthacks.org or if I went to
Hell if I know.
wait, what was it?
Hell if I know. No, that's Coolify. I don't need to, right? I don't concern myself. I don't really need to know it, but there's obviously nuances in that, but I have no idea. So what I want to do now is I want to log into my Coolify itself with HTTPS on a domain because I don't want to have to keep doing this. So I can do Coolify I love nighthacks.xyz, and this will be like test. And if I save, there you go. Give it a few seconds, but if I go to coolify.ilovenighthacks.xyz, the SSL certificates might not be generated yet. No, you're kidding. Okay, hold on, wait. Mobile hotspot. UCF has a thing that if a domain was acquired in the last 24 hours, it doesn't let traffic go through it. So what's happening right now is my thing is getting blocked by UCF, making me mad. Okay, let me.
John made a website called ucfbathrooms.org or something, and they had a similar problem.
It tends to happen. Let's see. All right. Hopefully my Wi-Fi, my phone's hotspot is good enough. Let's run this again. Coolify.ilovenighthacks.xyz. Drats. Am I spelling this right? Okay, so the SSL certificates aren't being generated yet, so I can go through it unsafe. Or not. It's still loading. Let's see if I'm missing anything. I don't think I am. This is scary down here. I don't want to touch anything that's red. Yeah, so it seems to be loading infinitely. This might be really embarrassing. Let me double check. Save. I don't know if this is my phone's hotspot that's giving me the issue or if it's, what's up?
Does it have to have the Coolify dot before?
Yeah, so the actual instance for this is what I set it up to be. So since I set it like this, that's how it's set up, but I could try ilovenighthacks.xyz. Let me do like a speed test.
Where's that tab that you're just changing up here? For Coolify?
Not that bad. What's up?
Can you go back to Coolify? Oh, it's the settings. Okay.
Yeah.
Settings.
So I'm gonna give this time to try like propagating. If it's not working, then we'll come back to it and try to figure it out. But I'm just gonna move on to the projects now. Another thing I want to do is on servers, I want to set something called my wildcard domain. So this is saying all of the applications we make. Huh? Oh, I think I need to close this.
No.
We'll go back. All right, we'll let that take its time. If that doesn't work soon, then we'll figure that out. But if I go to servers, localhost, I go here and I want to do. Oh, I know what it is. Okay, crazy lesson. So I have another app of mine on here where I did it the old-fashioned way, and I used Nginx to like open up a port. So what's happening right now is my port on the VPS using for web, port 443, is being used by another app already. Did we catch that? If we read it at the top. 4443 is already in use. So now remember that thing I was talking about, the traffic proxy that's routing all my traffic? Well, it's currently not up. So let's go ahead and fix that. Hello? Okay, this is frozen.
Oh, it might be because you switched your Wi-Fi over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why.
All right, so
Let me fix this. 1 sec. Don't worry about what I'm doing. This is completely unrelated to the workshop. All right, let's see if this works now that I turn those off. So it's pending right now. Loading, loading. I think the proxy is starting up. Just give that a moment. While that does that, there you go. See, now my proxy is running. So if I go to https ilovenighthacks.xyz, this is going to be my wildcard domain. This means that's the domain that, like, where I said I can put the subdomain before it. This is validating that that's the domain, right? So I'll put that here. Save. It's going to restart our proxy. That's fine. Let's come back here in settings. Let's make sure that this is here. Save this again. And now, if I go to coolify.ilovenighthacks.xyz, fingers crossed, boom. Crazy debugging live, by the way. I had no idea port 443 was being used. So now if I go here and I put in the account that I made everything with, and I go, I forgot. Boom. So now I can actually close this. And we're now using Coolify through HTTPS over the domain. See how simple that was? If you didn't already have something on 443, it would have been like a few clicks, right? Now we went to our servers. We set up our wildcard domain. So now let's actually start making our project. So I'm actually going to use this since I don't have any resources in this yet. So let's go back to sort of our like to-dos, right? So we set up the domain, check. We configured Coolify already. Remember the Discord thread that the Discord notification, and then those two domains put in, the server domain and the instance domain. The instance domain is the domain pointing to the VPS, the panel, and then the wildcard domain is the thing that we use for all of the other applications. So let's make a new application. So I'm gonna make the app that I built for this demo right here. And it's going to be the Nighthacks demo. So what this app is going to be, probably should have pulled this up ahead of time. Let me show you really quickly before I deploy it. Hey, I already got it up. It's gonna be a super simple app. I ask that you all have some self-control when you see what the app is. Please don't get this video taken down. So all this is gonna do is once I put this live, and I'm gonna get an error and I'll tell you why, we get to put little posts up on a board, and we can delete each other's posts, and we can write whatever post we want. Just be like, hello, hi, how you doing, right? So I want to put this up, and what is this going to take? First, we're going to need to deploy the application itself. We're also going to need to deploy our database. So what this error is it's trying to get all of the posts, but there's no database. There are no posts that exist, and I'm getting a ton of errors, right? So I'm going to show you how to deploy the web app, the database, and then just to get that extra mileage out of Coolify, we're going to deploy an analytics engine, and I'm going to show you how to set that up too. So you have a fully fledged app right up on your VPS, and you can continue to do that for other projects, right? So let me close this since we don't really need it right now. As you can see here, this is me saying I want to deploy that exact app we were looking at. For build packs, don't worry about this. More often than not, Nixpacks is going to automatically detect what you need to do and do all of that. If you need to get nitty gritty with Nixpacks, which I've had to do before for this, for some of the APIs I've built, that's the time you use Google, right? You don't really need to know that ahead of time. But you can pick Nixpacks static site, Docker file, or Docker Compose. Nixpacks is usually the GOAT, usually knows automatically for you. But if you have familiarity with Docker, you can make your own Docker scripts and use Docker file or Docker Compose. Port 3000, the port actually doesn't really make that big of a difference as long as you're within the approved range of ports that you can use. I think 3,000 to 4,000 is for dev. There's a certain range for databases. Most of the time, Coolify is going to automatically pick the right port for you because it knows all the other apps, so it'll automatically move your next app to 3001, next to 3002, and again, that proxy, that traffic, will know which one to point your domain to. So it does all of that for us, right? This is not a static site. We're reading from a database, so don't worry about that. No check on static site. So as we have here, I'm going to change all of this because I don't like the way this looks. And so do you remember the how I set the wildcard domain? Notice how the pre-generated URL it gave us ended with .ilovenihash.xyz. That's because we set the wildcard domain. So let's go here, demo web app. And then let's change this domain. So I'll do app.ilovenighthacks.xyz. Right? Redirection, we don't really care about this, but we just kind of leave it at default. And I'm just going to save just so it keeps those settings, right? So let's kind of look through a project. It does have install, build, and start commands that you can predefine. If you don't have them already, it automatically uses like whatever package manager you might need. So for example, if any of you built web apps with Next.js, it automatically generates something called a package.json, and that defines your build, start, and run scripts. But let's say you didn't have something like that, you could define all of your install, build, and start commands here. What do those do? Install is run first, build is ran second, start is ran third. So if you need to do a pip install, good place to put here for like a Python API, right? Build command, that's if we're doing anything weird with like C, C++, or anything that needs to get built. Even Next.js apps get like minified and build, that's your build command. And then your start command, right? And then down here, all of this stuff is Traefik stuff and network stuff that, again, you don't really have to worry about. You can if you want to, but we don't really need to deal with that. There's also optionally a pre-deployment and post-deployment script that is like so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't really use pre and post deployments very frequently, but they're there for that. Again, like I said, it's extensible, right? We have our advanced here. So all of these are like things that you don't really need. This is like caching stuff, HTTPS stuff, gzip compression. We don't really worry about that. These are our environment variables. So this is really cool. It manages all of our environment variables for us, like from web applications, etc. Persistent storage. This is just keeping backups of your thing. This is showing us Git. All of these things are things that, we don't really need to talk about right now. Just if you need to get there, mess around, explore, right? Let's head to configuration. Now, one of the cool things is we actually have a deployment button. And so what we do is whenever we want to, after we put the app in, after we've connected to the GitHub source, we want to make it go live, we can click the deploy button. Now, hopefully I don't get any issues with deployments here, right? So I can come here and I can view all of the deployment histories. And I want to go through something while we look at deployments. It's really, really interesting. I don't know why it took me back here, right? But if we look here, I'll make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Commit 498D61B. What does this mean? Analytics staging. So don't worry about the commit message. It's building off of a commit. Each of your deployments, since we're having it rebuild every time we commit, is built off a commit. So what you can do is if you want to see what your website looked like in a previous commit, you could generate a temporary URL to that deployment and look at it. It's a preview deployment. So you could do stuff like that with Coolify. I haven't really messed around with it too much, but each of these deployments, we can go back and forth between them. We can click onto them. We can see what happened, all those type of things. So let's watch while this is in progress. Now, if you click into it, you can get all of these super verbose logs. So if there's ever an error or an issue here, we can see it here. But look, so Nixpacks automatically detected that our install is the install with Corepack, npm run build, npm run start. Again, I didn't define these with the build commands in Coolify. It just got them from the package JSON, and it should say up here like package JSON detected. Let me see. Okay, I'm not gonna dig that deep. You can scroll down here and we can watch. We can see all the things it's doing. Right now it's like cloning the GitHub repo into the Docker container. It's gonna start building it. As you can see, it's unpacking into the Git cache. I really hope this deploys. If not, we're gonna have to do some debugging live. We'll see if I can one trick it. My dad's calling me. One sec. Perfect timing for him to call me while we're deploying. Just had to let him know. All right. Sometimes this doesn't refresh, so I'm gonna refresh, kind of see what's going on here. Still cloning. Again, I'm on my phone's hotspot right now to avoid the UCF thing, so it might take a little bit. Shouldn't be that big of an application. While we wait on this, we can actually queue up the next deployment. So I'll go to projects, we'll come back and see. And the deployments are queued, they don't run multiple deployments at once as to not explode your VPS, right? So let's come over here. We're loading. It's still building. So we need that database, right? So I built this on top of Postgres. So let's go ahead and deploy a Postgres database as well right next to it on the VPS. So you can tell it's definitely doing something. It's a little slow right now. So PostgreSQL, watch how easy it is to put up a Postgres database. And keep in mind, other than the VPS cost, this is free. There are some, by the way, Supabase, you can self-host Supabase now. They have a Supabase configuration, which is like Firebase, but like good. Postgres, here you go. So I'll put PostgreSQL 16, because I don't really need vector store. Hello? Yeah, I think the box is struggling right now, guys. Oh boy. Okay. You still got something. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think I might have crashed the VPS, guys. Let's hope not. Let's hope it'll like. Okay. Ooh, even the key logs on SSH are taking a long time. Ooh. Yeah. I think I'm done. Okay, I'm in. Okay, I'm in. Let's hope. Let's hope and pray. It might be cooked. I might have to check on my phone.
Must be toast.
Damn. Hold on. Let me pull up on my phone the VPS. I think the VPS ran out of RAM while I was deploying the app because everything just went kaput. It'll come back eventually. I'm holding out hope. If not, yo, I'm about to use the Nighthacks VPS for the workshop, and I'll take everything down after. Hold on. So I want you guys to be able to use it. Let me log into my OVH cloud account. Make sure that I'm still connected to the internet.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
That's because
That's
of the
fast
hotspot.
enough to host the web. Like, look at the web.
Yeah.
You want to check the deployment logs?
Well, the issue is it's down.
Yeah.
Well, you can't go to Google?
Well, if it's deployed, it hasn't deployed yet because we have this nice little event hook here. So we know that it's not deployed yet. Yeah.
Speaking of the webhook, do you get that like in the actual Discord like channel or like the server? Like the webhook, like I guess your.
Yeah, in the server.
It's not like for the individual. Like, okay.
You set the individual channel when you generate it in the server.
Okay. Let me try again. So I didn't get any like confirmation message on there.
Hold on, I'm pulling up the OVH Cloud panel here to see if my VPS is down. Because if it's down, then I'm not waiting for that to reboot. We're just gonna go on the Nighthacks one. I just need to see if it's just like high resource utilization or should have thought of this and dropped the money and buffed it. If not, I can reclone all the stuff I did already on the other VPS pretty quickly. Yeah, I only have 2 gigs of RAM, so.
Didn't Coolify say it wanted 20?
Said I wanted 30. No, 30 gigabytes of storage. I have 20 gigs of storage, so
Okay.
I only have like 2/3 what it wants, like good 66%.
That's like fine.
It's okay. Yeah, we're limit testing Coolify. How little resources can we actually work with? So that's probably the only drawback with Coolify is it's more resource intensive than doing it on your own. But
What
I feel like 16
is
gigs.
used for the Nighthacks website?
yeah, well, for the Nighthacks we have a much bigger VPS.
Oh yeah. So what's the provider?
OVH as well, the same VPS provider. It's just like the $20 a month one versus the $4 a month one. So I'm gonna refresh one more time, see if it's working. If not, I'm gonna just have to go to the Nighthacks one, and I can show you there with that domain. The same instance of follows. Like we have the same exact setup, just with nighthacks.org. So I hope no one's scraping our domain. If not, they're gonna see a really odd site pop up. But I'm gonna go to coolify.nighthacks.org. I'm gonna go to my personal team space. Again, notice how there's teams, right? Pretty cool. Oh, hey. Okay, I have a test deployment here. Let me go see if on my personal thing I'm gonna get all of the notifications. I kind of want to turn those off because I feel like dev team might flame me. All right, good. No webhook, guys. Just imagine it goes off when I do it. I'm not putting the webhook up right now. So let's go over here, test resource. Let me just make sure my server. I'll keep hitting that every now and then, see if it comes back. I don't have localhost. Hello?
You have
you
far away
Oh,
to
no.
local hosts.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. Wait, guys. We may just have to like wait and like talk and like hang out. Oh, it's dead. I can't even. Yeah, it's cooked. Hold on. Let me restart.
Oh, work.
Oh, hello.
It's a little slow.
I want to open HTOP and see what's going on. I don't even think no, I think I fried the VPS. Because it's not registering any of my keystrokes on SSH. Okay. Hold on. And I can't upgrade it right now because it's too late. An upgrade for a VPS takes like an hour for them to allocate the resources to you. So yeah. I knew something bad was gonna happen. The demo gods weren't on my side today, so dev team's gonna have to. Lewin, can you make sure pull request is like clear so I can open it?
I think you're good, bro.
Okay, just making sure.
Just clear it out. Oh, like cleared?
Yeah, the chat.
There you go. So we'll have this open, and I'm gonna go ahead and deploy. So I'm just gonna deploy. I'm gonna add my own GitHub source just so we can use the same demo app. I'll remove this when we're done. Are you serious? You made the name for me. What are we doing, guys? I'm gonna have to clean this up or Caleb's gonna get mad at me.
Really?
Yeah. They're gonna start getting, dev team's gonna start getting the notifications and wonder what's going on. All right, sorry for the repeat of work. I'll move a little bit quicker after. Bro!
No, that's too much.
No, I'm good. What? Wait, what? Which VPS is this, guys? I don't know. Is this Nighthacks or is this? This is Nighthacks. Okay. All right. I have my resources up now. I have sources up. So we're gonna go projects. Again, we're gonna make test workshop for safe measure. And we're gonna use the nighthacks.org instead of ilovenighthacks.xyz now because again, that's how it's configured on this. If you look here, I could show you just to verify localhost. The wildcard domain is nighthacks.org. And if we come down here to settings, the instance domain is coolify.nighthacks.org. So we've got that all figured out, right?
Is this the actual like?
This is the
Yeah.
VPS for dev team. This is ours.
Okay, this is the actual big.
So hopefully, if I explode this one, I'm like actually cooked then. All right. So let's make the GitHub application again. We're gonna make it from Dylan test. We're gonna go down here. We're gonna go to Nighthacks demo, load repository, 3000 main, blah 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 blah. Oh, I think we have a few on 3000. I'm gonna put 3005. Put this here. Let me go in dev team, see the notifications go off. And so again, we don't really want to change anything here other than we're gonna make this, I'm gonna make this workshop dot for today. Deploy. Let's go watch deployments. All right, getting everything ready. Sorry for the hiccup. So we go to deployments now and we can kind of click into this and kind of just look at all the debug logs, all that type of stuff. So we're back to where we were before. So while this is going, let's go ahead and deploy in my project. Let's go ahead and make the Postgres app that I was talking about. So we come here, we get Postgres 16, click on that, actually works this time, and we can keep this as is. I'll go ahead and start the database as well. And so you want to see how quick this is. We now have a Postgres database.
When
That-
you press start, is it going to show you the login failure?
So it gives us the access string, which has the email or the login and password configured in already. You know, like the access URL. So it generates the username and password for us. Right here,
Okay.
username, password.
Oh, okay.
So all of that's there. And so I don't really need to worry about that. All I need is, so this right here, so for databases, there's two types of URLs, which is an important distinction to clarify. There's the internal and the public. So if you're building an app in the same project, so like, you know how I have a project workshop and then I have the web app and the database, it's actually best to use internal URL because you're never gonna ever have to leave localhost to get to your database, right? It's like going to your neighbor and using that database instead of going out into the web and coming back into your same database, right? But let's say you're testing and you want to test it. All you need to do is do make publicly available. Oh, well, we already have a database in use on 543, so I'm going to put it on 543.3, make publicly available. And now if I press save, now you can access the database from your VS Code terminal or anywhere else in the world, right? But typically it's better and safer and more optimized to just use the internal one for when you're working with applications. Oh, we're back. We're back. We're back. Hold on. We're not back. We're not back. Everything's blowing up.
Just a warning.
What's up?
So it's just a warning. You're not supposed
Oh
to-
yeah. But except when I click workshop, it doesn't work. Shop. What's up?
Sorry, I just want like, kind of a clarification. So if, for the network thing, where you said make publicly available, right? So if it's not, then it will only work on the same system.
Yep,
right?
it will only work on for the application that's on the same exact
So,
system.
Okay, but like let's say during like a dev, I use a different PC, but I still want to use that database kind of.
You need the public URL.
Yes, I think publicly, or like no, if it's on the same local network, well then I just use.
If you tunnel into your VPS, I think you could do that. But like,
Right.
you have to be on the same network. Yeah. is it-
assuming that is assuming I'm using.
Oh yeah, same network. Yeah, it'll work.
Okay,
It's like in the network. Yeah.
right. Okay.
So in the case, I'm just going to do it here. In the case of my project, which do you think we want to use for this? Public or internal?
I guess if the main projects were running on the same server, we could just use it.
You want to use internal. I think, oh no, guys.
Yeah, no, it's not a
Oh, okay, so here's why it failed. We can go ahead and open the deployment logs and look. Invalid environment variables, database URL required. And that makes a lot of sense, right? Because again, we have here our environment variables, and we haven't set the database URL because we don't have a database yet. Funny enough for us, we literally just made a database. So let me go get the internal URL from that and smack it in there. So Postgres database, let me grab this internal URL, come back over here, and then add database underscore URL, put that in here, save it, and now we have our environment variable, and we can run deploy again. And we shall see if this works.
You show the logo.
Yeah, and so here's the really cool part. Remember how I was talking about Coolify? If I come over here into Coolify, look, Coolify, deployment failed of dvdal, nihex demo, blah, blah, blah. This is the name of my app in the Coolify thing. But as you can see here, we have ones for Club. We have TK, our Discord bot, Blade. Y'all know Blade, you use it to check in, right? So we have this exact setup for nighthacks, and we think it's like really cool to like have visibility on all the things that are happening within the VPS. We also have right here. So look, we actually have databases for our Coolify configuration and our Postgres database for Blade. We also have notifications that every night at 7 p.m. when those get pushed, right? Any day now, so I could do one last cool thing and then we could use the app and wrap up. But unpacking into the cache. So another thing that we're gonna set up while we're here, if I come over into the code, remember I said I wanted to get an analytics engine? So this script right here, once I uncomment this and put the right things in here, it's actually going to track analytics for our entire app. It's going to tell me all I need to know. It's going to tell me if you visited the website on a mobile app, on a laptop, on a phone, on a big screen desktop, hell, on a TV, what operating system, iOS, Linux, Microsoft, or whatever. It'll tell you what page is the most popular. So if it's a multi-page app, you can tell if like the /projects is the most popular, which is really good for your portfolio, right? And how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to go here. We're going to go here. And we are going to deploy something called Umami. So this is one of the few open source analytics databases you can make. This is my first time ever deploying this to Coolify. Let me see. Cool. And then I think if we do deploy, hopefully this works. I think we had another deployment fail, which I know is the case because I opened the Coolify channel. Let's see why this failed again. This is a lot of what hosting is, just figuring out all of these things. I have TypeScript errors, guys. What's going on? So it says right here, unclick delete post.mutate. Yeah, I don't care. Ignore. Wait, are you serious? I actually have to fix this bug live?
Shows your
String is not assignable to number. I'm stupid, guys.
Yeah.
PM type check. Are we good? Are we good? Bruh, you're kidding. All right, let's find this. Y'all put me on the spot here today. Delete. Did I not import equal? All right, guys, this is a pro dev strat.
Yeah.
Let's go.
No.
Did you hear a GPT has like a built-in ID now?
Wait,
What?
wait, hold on. I didn't make the DB schema for this. Are they using numbers for ID?
Oh, wait, yeah.
Ah! Dang nabbit, dude. I gotta fix all of this now. Name is string, that's fine. Delete, we have ID here. Again, it's gonna give me the error about post.id. Post ID should be number.
Number default.
Yeah, let's go to Umami. Finally, something deployed in my favor. Umami's fine, right? Umami's up and running. I could show you how to use that in a sec.
Is anyone here in CS2, the 6 p.m. one?
Yeah.
You are? Yeah, I was like, honestly, I just go on my laptop. Oh, you always not?
No, I'm saying like, you guys are in it.
Oh, no,
It's right now.
it's right now, but like, honestly, this is more interesting than that lecture.
If you
Good.
recorded or not, I think, right?
Really?
I think so.
I would appreciate that for sure. I mean,
Guys.
I don't know if I'd watch that either, but.
Cyber property ID is incompatible.
Yeah, it's like, I'd rather not wait till 7:15. Hey, I learned something new today versus the class, so.
Let's do it again, guys. I had a long day. I don't feel like doing this. Hey, let's go TypeScript. PNPM, type check. And then after this, I need like 10 more minutes, and then y'all can get out of here. But I think, okay, all right. And just to be sure, we're running format. Oh my God. Hold on. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Hey, look, guys, all fixed. I'm not running lint. I don't care. Okay.
Where's doing it?
Well, now we can watch this live.
Oh yeah.
So I just wrote and pushed to this, right? Now let's come back here to our app, go to deployments. No hands. Look, we got a deployment in progress. I actually rigged that bug just to show you how CI/CD works, right? Git was pushed, right? Everything's up and working. Question?
I never kind of like used like a CI/CD to like live update stuff, right? So how do like the apps know when you put like do a git push? Is it just like listening?
So it looks at main. So here's the thing. When you're working with a VPS that has CI/CD or any CI/CD, you want to work on your own branch. Because if you
Right.
push like, I'm like, oh, I'm half done, let me push this buggy feature, that will go to prod and deploy.
Right.
So you always want to work, it really enforces you to work on your own branch when you're working on Git. So that if you're like have to sit down and leave, go somewhere else, you can commit a broken commit on that branch. It's just when you merge it into main, it's going to go to the head of that branch. Right? So you kind of
No, I
want
get
that.
that part. I'm saying like I guess do apps just constantly listen, waiting for?
Wait, it's a webhook.
Okay.
GitHub actually has a webhook service, and I've wrote one on my own before. It just sends messages to a webhook server whenever a push event happens, and then it knows
Okay.
to rebuild.
So I
right
guess
away.
this you can like put in a GitHub like webhook. I guess
That's what that app
web-
is. It actually builds all of that for us. It gets the URL to the repo for us. Remember that app that I made when I connected my GitHub account and I had to open my GitHub on my phone and like type in the numbers?
Oh, that's
It does all of that for us.
okay, cool.
So let's go ahead and actually get the umami. So the umami, where's the, how do I open this? I've never done this on here. Here you go, right here. So this is our URL to open umami. And I'll let that load. Let me see if this works too. Finally, the app is deployed, right? So if I come here to the application now, we're live. So I can do hello. Guys, please. Guys, stop. No! Oh, do you want to know what happened? This is a crazy bug. So right now, my database is live, but my database actually has no idea what the shape of my schema are. So that's the issue. So I need to go get, I need to go get my public URL. Need to come back here. Need to go to my EMV. You guys now have my database URL. And go over here. Pay. And this is the beauty of live coding. You guys get to watch me suffer. Okay, come here, go back here, and now I have to run pm run db push. Don't worry about this. This is just like, this is just specifics to my tech stack and what I'm using. If this errors, all right, thank you. Come back over here again, workshop.nihacks.org. Bless.
Yay.
The app works. It only took me. Okay, imagine if I had no bugs. Imagine how quick that would be, right? Even with bugs. It's not that bad, right? If I didn't have the webhook on 443 and if I didn't have the whole issue with my VPS crashing, how long do you think that would take? 10 minutes? Maybe 15? I'll go with 15. I'll go with 15. What's up? Oh no. No! I did say I was gonna do it with 0 bugs this morning. Okay. So let's go back over here to the Umami instance. I don't know why this is taking forever to load. I think I have to do this. There you go. So this is Umami. Let me teach you what Umami is. Umami is super cool. So you can make, Umami already made an admin user for us. So I'll have to go here. I think it's BAM. And then BAM. Bruh. How do I? Oh, here's the user. Why'd they put the database name in the middle? Anyways, this is the admin user that it automatically generates. Guys, what are we doing? What are we doing? Guys, come on now. Am I tripping? That looks like the username and password. Let me see. Is there a... Whoa. What is all this? Yeah, this is all the stuff that I'm using. Now, to be quite frank with you guys, I've never actually used Umami through this, so this might be a lost cause. Oh, settings. Yeah. Shit, bro. What am I looking for? There's a username and password to actually log into the Umami instance, but I don't know what the... this looks like a user. This looks like a password.
That looks like a use.
Yeah, this looks like a password.
They both look like passwords.
All right, guys. We might have to just wrap it up. Let's see if I could.
Try Umami as a username.
Bro, guys.
1, 2, 3.
Could
Hold
it
on.
automatically say flip it cool if I log in?
Hold on. Umami self-hosted default login. Guys, we're about to cook. Bro. Bless. Don't steal my Umami instant, guys. So the way Umami works, you go to a website. No data available because we haven't made a website. So let's go to settings, websites, add a website. We'll call this workshop. And then the domain of the workshop is https://workshop.nighthacks.org. Oh, okay. These guys hate me, dude. 0 bugs my ass. Okay. So if I go to edit here, it's going to give us this website ID. And so all we need to do is come here and somewhere in your metadata as a script tag, and the place that goes in Next.js is in layout. So let me uncomment this, right? Let me import this. So our website ID is what it just generated for us. And then our analytics ID is everything to the left of this slash. So I need the HTTPS. Now if I do now let's pray that this builds. Come on, guy. No. Don't, come on, no. No. I know what this is. I recognize this link. No, I don't. What is this? Alright, I see you guys are having fun by 6 p.m. 20 minutes. It did work. Thanks, Umami.
Oh wait, I can go to this website right now.
Yeah.
Oh shit, hold on.
No. Alright, so now that we've set that up, we can come over here. We can go look at my app. Test workshop. My demo app. Is it redeploying right now? We're probably going to be waiting on the deployment. So once this redeploys, assuming this works, I'm going to go to the page. I'm going to refresh about 10 times. We're going to go to the Umami dashboard. We're going to see the analytics, and then we're going to go home. All right? It's going to work. I trust. Only 10. How many bugs did I have, guys? 10? Around about? Okay. It's like, we're okay. We're okay. 10 is like not a function. It's like O of 1 if you think about it, because it's a constant. So I only had like 1. We reduce here. All right. We're almost here. We're almost here. It's generating the pages, collecting the build traces. Hey, it built the pages, which means I shouldn't have an error. Come on, guys. I'm about to celebrate. Done! Guys, it's done. Removing all containers. We're done. Rolling update completed. So now, let's go here. I'm scared. No. Cut it out. So look, I'm refreshing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Y'all want to go to the site and refresh a few times? Pull it up, hit it with a few refreshes. Give me some analytics. Spoof my site, please. And then I come here to dashboard. Now hopefully. No, guys, no. What did I do wrong? 0 bugs. I was too confident this morning. Let me make sure that the script tag's actually in here. Script.
Type.
Shut up, dude. Let me go to my personal portfolio and see I set it up here because I have the same exact
You have
analytics. Of course I do, dude.
You're sure. strange, bro.
Yo, when I get someone from
I'll do it though.
a West Coast area code on my shit, I'm like, oh.
Oh.
Oh, there's a /script.js, guys. I'm a bot. I'm an idiot. Let's redo this again. Wait. /script.js. I asked nicely.
I got message.
All right, guys. Who's ready to wait for another in progress? Wait, hold on. Commercial break.
TS.
I'm not putting the TSPMO. This is like elevator music, right?
What the?
So blessed for the limited capacity room. I could not do this in front of HEC 101.
Check the web.
I'd be cooked. The webhook?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Coolify hook's blowing up. There's so much stuff going on. So look, new version is successfully deployed. You even get to preview the metadata. You
Oh,
could
wow.
click deployment logs, open application. Pretty cool for like real sites, right? Instead of the database. New version deployed. Blah 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 blah. Please, guys, please. My head hurts. There's no way this gives me like a build error, right? I just changed like 5 characters in a script line.
It would be so fun.
Don't say that. It would be funny, but don't say that.
Wait, so when it successfully builds, will it show in the logs?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I see what you. Okay. We'll wait. We'll see. Yes, it built. So this is what we do in dev. Whenever we push it, we merge a PR. We all sit in this channel and we wait, and we say, please. All right, guys. Let's refresh the page. The script says /script.js. Come on, get it, guys. Oh, what did we get? Stop! Get out of here! Cut it out! Oh wait, don't worry about this.
No.
All right, everyone, refresh it. Give me some analytics. All right. Bless! Come on, round of applause. Yeah, Coolify works. Okay. So those are 3 applications that we deployed on Coolify. We had our own database, we had our analytics engine, we had our web hosting service, all of that good stuff. There are a ton of other applications in there. Y'all want a Minecraft server? One-click Minecraft server. That sounds pretty cool.
Next week.
Yo, should I test?
Now it's next week.
No, I'm not gonna do it.
RVP.
I'm not gonna do it. So that being said, that's all for the workshop today. If you guys have any questions, anything at all,
I came like an hour late. How much did I miss?
a good amount.
Yeah.
I went over concepts before I started messing with it. So if you want to go back and learn about hosting, learn about serverless, bare metal, the YouTube video should be up by the end of the week. Other than that, any other questions? All right, with that being said, thank you for coming. I think it was a pretty fun workshop, good hands-on. If you guys need to review this, again, this workshop's going to be uploaded, so if it ever comes time for you to do the same thing, deploy an application, set up analytics, anything like that, feel free to pull up the video. And a new feature that we just dropped, I'm not sure if you guys saw it in the announcement, you can actually leave feedback on events on Blade for some extra night hacks points. So now that you've checked in, you can go to your dashboard, leave me some feedback. I'd love to hear it so we can keep making our workshops better and better. And we're finalizing what our prize is going to be, but each night hacks point that you have in the server is actually a raffle entry to win something. We're trying to figure out what it is still, but it'll be worth it. All right, we're thinking like minimum $200, right?
Yeah.
We're thinking like a for real prize, guys. So
If anyone needs me to check them in, I can do it right now.
yeah, if anyone needs to get check in, you can come up here. But thank y'all for coming. We have this room for a while, so I'm gonna be chilling here for like another 30 minutes. If you guys want to like hang out and talk about anything, but you're out. All right, thank y'all for coming.